What's going on, guys? Welcome to another meet prep vlog. Today is by far my absolute favorite training day, and that is deadlift day. Today we're gonna go through the full deadlift workout. I'm gonna bring you guys through the warm-up I'm gonna do today. I was already kind of plotting it out in my head based on the context of the past few days, but I'll see you guys at the gym. So for my two warm-up exercises before physically getting to the deadlift and working with lighter loads, we have a banded RDL, and I love this before deadlifts for two reasons. Number one, we get the RDL benefit of lengthening the hamstrings and feeling tension with external load, but then two, the band around the waist forces our hips and glutes to work through the full concentric. So we get a nice glute and hamstring focus activation. The second movement is this front-loaded sandbag squat, and I like this movement because in the deadlift, we need to be very mindful of our head position, torso position, and pelvis. So by having this front load and squeezing it, I really get to focus on what my torso is doing in relation to my pelvis, plus I'm getting a lot of lower body warm-up benefit from that. So here are my warm-up sets. I like to move fast through my warm-ups when it comes to like my overall movement patterning. So I move very quick through 135 and 225 and even 365. And then I start to slow my tempo down a little bit because as we get heavier, obviously our patterning is going to get slower. So by focusing on creating tension more thoroughly before my working sets, it's going to be a better carryover and transition into these heavier sets. So we have 3 sets of 4 singles, and do note that my programming right now is done by Adam Miller at M1 Coaching. This is not my programming, and he is the mastermind behind my hectic meet prep. I came to him at 10 weeks, ended up getting COVID like a week and a half, 2 weeks into our training, and now we are 5.5, 6 weeks out. So he's the mastermind to help me get back to my lifting status that I'll be happy with at the meet. These are my final 5 singles here. At this point, I was feeling it, to be honest, but the weight was still moving really well, and I was very happy with that. Coming back after COVID, I was taking a little bit of a longer rest breaks in between my sets, and my top 2 sets were this 475 single, which moved really well, and admittedly, I was supposed to have 485 planned, but I did 495 because this was the number before I got COVID I was supposed to hit, and it was just rattling in my head, and honestly, I just had to hit it and send it and prove to myself that this weight is no problem for me right now, and we're only going to get stronger as we get closer to our meet. My final 2 movements that I'm going to share in this video are once again a heavier loaded banded RDL. I didn't have a 45-degree glute extension, which is what the program called for, so I focused on really tucking the hips in with the torso in this movement to get that nice glute benefit. And then we had walking dumbbell lunges, and in these I focused on a little bit of internal rotation as I went through the loading of the lead leg. But guys, that is the workout for today's video. The workout was brutal. It took me way too long, to be honest. I took a long rest break in between every single, so we got it done though. Hit 485, stoked about that. Moved pretty well, especially for not deadlifting in literally 3 weeks. Coming back from COVID, it's been really interesting getting my lungs back. And if you're watching this and you had COVID, like let me know in the comments below how long it took you to kind of get what feels like your lungs back and your like cardiovascular system. I noticed it most in between sets, obviously in my rest, so let me know if you've experienced something similar. But overall, pretty good workout. And I wanted to talk on a topic today before we wrap this video up on a question that I was asked in a previous vlog, and that was what got me into fitness and also as a coach and training. So like what got me into being a personal trainer. And before I answer this, I do want to ask you, if you're still watching this, like think back to what got you into training and fitness. And if you're a coach or trainer, what got you into that profession? And I would love to hear what got you into it in the comments below. Like the reason I love YouTube right now more than most other social media platforms is like I get to actually share a lot, which then allows people to comment and give more feedback. And then I try to like literally read every comment and respond to everybody. So if you want to, let me know what got you into training and fitness, because I am super interesting, especially as the community grows in this YouTube channel. What kind of like brought everybody into this realm that we are also invested in? So thinking back on my past and kind of what got me into training, it's interesting because as I grow as a trainer and a coach, and I think as I learn more about myself internally, and as I start to unpack some of my fucking shit like we all have growing up and everything, it's like kind of morphed like my memory of like what got me into training. Because if you asked me when I first started lifting, like what got me into training, the reasonings were around sports performance, like the vanity of like having abs and like being the lean guy and being known as like the ripped guy. Like that's what got me into training initially. But as I've grown and as I've morphed as an athlete and a lifter, and I think everybody who's watching this can attest to, like your view of why you do it and why you continue to do it shifts and changes. And I think as we get more and more invested into this realm, we start to appreciate it more. So I got into training when I was like 12, 13. My dad was a college football player, so you know, like the Midwestern dad was like getting my kid to train early on. So he got me into the weight room around like 12, 13, and that was for hockey purposes. I was playing ice hockey at the time. I wanted to get bigger, I wanted to get stronger. And we would also do this thing where he would bring me into the backfield and make me pull this fucking tire off of like a harness, and I would have to do sprints back and forth. And we wouldn't be done until I beat 2 of my previous times, like after a certain number. And it was brutal. It took me a minute because I was young to learn how to kind of like game the system a little bit. And I'm like, okay, I'll sandbag a little bit here, and then I could just zoom past in this later rep and get it done sooner than later. And it was just I always just laugh when I used to think about my neighbors looking out into like this field in the back of their house, and you just see this kid sprinting back and forth, pulling this tire, and this tire is getting caught on all this shit and like swinging. But that all being said, when I was younger, like me and my dad are very much both stubborn and hard-headed, and I was that kid that like wanted to buck the reins and do things on my own terms and yada yada. So the whole excursion of him training me lasted about like a year. And then I kind of got into that phase where it's like, I'm too fucking cool, I'm a teenager, I'm gonna do this on my own. So I started training myself, and at that time, like I wish I had not been as stubborn, and I wish I had saw the bigger picture like I do now. I don't think how me and my dad communicate in a lot of ways is effective. He's very much like comes at you when you don't do the outcome that he wants, and I'm very much like, you got to kind of like ease me into it and like talk in a more like positive, upbeat way. I don't really respond that great to harsh criticism unless I'm competing. Like I thrive on shit talk, but when it comes to getting into something, especially something that I feel out of my element in, I think that the way we communicated was not very effective. So when I was like 14-ish, 15-ish, I started training myself, and that was for sports performance, yes, but also a lot of vanity reasons. And like looking back on it, I can see patterns of like being in high school and then even my first year of college, where I was so hung up on this idea of being known as like the ripped guy with abs and all this fucking shit that like the media feeds you. It says you have to be and you need to be this. Like I was not healthy with how I was training, with how I was eating. And to be honest, like there was a stint from when I was probably like 17 through 19 when I was like a $145 at like 6 foot, because I was under eating. I was training 6-7 times a week, and I was like only allowing myself to eat like carbs and shit on like one day of the week. Everything else was like low carb. Like I had to eat clean and all this shit. And it took me a minute to realize that the road I was going down was making me more unhappy than not with training and lifting. And so when I went into my sophomore year of college, I had moved from Missouri to New York to pursue a career in journalism as a fitness editor, a health writer. And at that point, like I was getting involved with the bodybuilding MISC community, which like shout out to the nutrition MISC, like they're my homies. And like honestly, like that community of people that I had never met had kind of been like, you need to put on weight, dude. Like you are under eating, you are overtraining, yada yada. And it's all these strangers like being really awesome and being like this super great community. I think that's why I can appreciate YouTube and other forums like that where there is a positive element. I do think there's some negative in everything with that, but where there is some positive element. So my sophomore year of college, I started trying to put on weight, and I went into my sophomore year, so at 19, at about $145, and finished that year around like 175, 180. And at that point too, I was like, I'm so into training, like I want to start training other people. So I applied for an internship working under a college cheer alumni, because I was on the college cheer team at Hofstra, who was a trainer at a gym. So I started working under him as an intern, learning the ropes of personal training. So when I was 19, I started putting on weight and actually having a more holistic view of strength training, eating, etc. Like I was still very infant in my stage, but I started putting on weight and I worked under him. And Fast forward like the next 2 or 3 years, similarly, I was putting on weight. I ended up getting up to like 185, 190 in college, and that was all for college cheer, like performance purposes. And I kept training and personal training, and at that time I started bringing on clients too. And I had went to college with the whole goal of being like a fitness editor, a health writer, etc. And I was a journalism major, shifted to bachelor's in exercise science, and ended up finishing my master's in sports science. That's later down the road. But that all being said, like I got super into training, and I was like, this is what I want to do. Like I'll teach myself how to write. I'm still not a great writer, but I can write if I need to, because it's a skill you have to train. But I was like, I want credentials to be more effective with communicating in the realm of training and fitness. I want to understand what's going on and not just do it because someone else has said to do it, or because this is kind of like a system that everyone else follows, so I follow that system. I wanted a better idea and approach. So follow that up, and I was training full time throughout college. So I was going to school and training at a gym that focused on hockey and lacrosse players. It was an absolute blast. Like I love that gym. Institute 3E on Long Island, John DeFlorio, he was a great mentor to me. And then ended up transitioning once again from being a full-time trainer in college to pursuing a role as an editor / writer at a strength sports startup called Barbend. A lot of you have probably heard of it. And I worked there for 4 years and kept training on the side. And since then, man, it's like, since this progression of being interested in fitness and learning a bit more and learning a bit more and learning a bit more, it's just built such an appreciation for the art of coaching and the art of, I think, intelligent training. So it's like not just ripping shit off of the internet and going with it, but actually interacting and understanding why we do a lot of the things we do, and also understanding that there's a lot of stuff we don't understand. And those are topics that I do want to dive into more on the channel, and I get a bit more like almost philosophical in how I see training these days. But I don't even know if we're still on topic of what got me into fitness and training, but that is kind of like the journey that I had. And obviously like there are so many steps that I kind of like just quickly glanced over in this explanation, and maybe in a future YouTube video, like if anybody even wants to hear the story, I could dive deeper into like what it's like pursuing training and coaching in college and if it's worth it, and just some other things to keep in mind. So it's like building up skills outside of just being a trainer. So understanding how to write, build a website. These are all things that are really interesting to me and things that I do consulting for now. So if that is something of interest, like obviously hit me in the comments and let me know. But that's what got me into training. I started when I was very young, like 12, 13, got into it for performance reasons, and then shifted to some fucking shallow vanity reasons, and then shifted to having a better understanding of helping others and understanding just really what's going on in the body and how we progress and adapt, and just having a more holistic view and appreciating all of these different systems that so many coaches and trainers spend time building and testing and learning and all of these things. And that's, I think, where my head's at now, where it's like there's so many amazing minds in our world, and there's so many different systems that you can pull things from and just like appreciate, understand, and learn from. And with the infancy, in my opinion, with how strength sports and training still kind of is in a lot of ways, it's really cool seeing it grow and being a part of it. And honestly, even being able to have this channel where it's like I interact with my smaller community, which I fucking love, and we could talk and actually like go back and forth on different videos. So it's like when people comment on guides and when people comment on things, it's like they don't understand that they're also helping me learn too. And it's like helping me interact and like learn how to message things in ways that I might not have ever been exposed to or seen before. And it's like, I don't know, man, I'm just stoked to be doing what I'm doing. And I really do enjoy training and being a coach and being able to interact with the clients I do. But that's what got me into lifting, guys. But I'm gonna slam this food, edit this video, and then take a nice relaxing bath and try to bring my nervous system down. If you made it this far, you are seriously the best, and I really do appreciate you. And I know it's easy to say that, and everyone says that on YouTube and social media, but like for real, like there's so many different people in this world that you can interact with and watch. And if you're still watching this and rocking with me, like it really does, it hits home. Like I do appreciate it. But guys, drop a like to the video, drop subscribe to the channel. I need to eat.